You are 61 years old, and you are grinding ink, cold water into the well of the stone. The stick turned 20 times, clockwise, until the room smells of burnt pine. Then you set it down, and you bow once toward the north. You have done this every morning since you were 8. This morning you are grinding ink to accept a job you already know how to lose. Level 1. The child student. The year is 1825. You are 14 years old. Your father has 1 field and 4 sons. He worked out a long time ago that the field cannot be split 4 ways. So one son gets to hold a brush instead of a hoe. He picked you. He did not ask. You have been beaten for mispronouncing a line of Confucius. More than once. Your father does not apologize for it and never will. Here is what you are studying for. The whole empire is run by men who passed a written examination. Any commoner's son can sit it. In theory, a boy from a village with 1 field can end his life advising the throne. That is not a story your family tells to comfort itself. It is genuinely how the system works. It just doesn't work often. You memorize the 4 books and the 5 classics. Word for word. Not the meaning. The words. The graders don't want your opinion of Confucius. They want his exact sentences, arranged inside an essay form so strict it has its own name. 8 sections. In a fixed order, and 1 wrong turn in the structure can get your paper thrown out unread. You are a child student. That isn't a rank. It's a permission slip. It buys one thing: the right to walk into a county hall and be judged. Your first examination happens in a shed, one of thousands of identical stalls in rows. 2 nights and 3 days, alone, writing from memory. 2 wooden planks. One is your desk, and when the light goes, the other is your bed. What you remember afterwards isn't the questions. It's your right wrist, dead from the elbow down, the ink half freezing in the stone before dawn, and the ache in your knees against cold brick, which at some point stopped being pain and just became the temperature of your body. Most boys who sit this never pass it. If your name isn't on the list pasted outside the hall, there's no second prize. There's the walk home and the field. Level 2. The government student. The year is 1833. You are 22 years old. It took you 6 attempts. Then your name goes up on the wall, and the law itself starts treating you differently. You can't be flogged for minor offenses the way a commoner can. You're exempt from labor conscription. The county magistrate has to address you with a formality he'd never use for your father. None of it pays anything. This rank is a door, not a house. There are tens of thousands of men across the empire holding the exact same title, competing for the exact same next step. Some men hold it for the rest of their lives. They teach village children the same classics they memorized. They get invited to write couplets for weddings and funerals. Respected. Permanently unfinished. One of them was a man from Shandong named Hanlin. He reached this rank at 18. Then he failed the level above it for the next 50 years. He filled the waiting with stories. Foxes, ghosts, corpses, and examination halls. He was finally given an honorary higher degree at 71, as a gesture. He died 4 years later. Every candidate in the empire has read his ghost stories, usually in secret. Every candidate knows exactly why he wrote them. The smell of this rank is fresh paste and wet paper. That's the whitewashed wall outside the hall where the lists go up. The crowd pressed against it. The sound men make when they find their own name. And the other sound, the quieter one. Your father, who beat you over a mispronounced line, now tells the neighbors about your title as though it happened to him. Cold water. 20 turns. Bow north. Right. Level 3. The recommended man. The year is 1834. You are 23 years old. The provincial examination runs once every 3 years in the provincial capital. Getting there is days of travel and lodging you can't afford. Inside, the cells are the same brutal design as the county shed, just multiplied. Acres of them, walled and gated. 3 separate sessions, 3 days and 2 nights each. The men in your row become the closest thing you have to friends for a week. You trade charcoal. You boil millet over a stove the size of your palm. You compare how badly the last essay went, right up until the gates close again. That's the smell of this rank. Charcoal smoke and boiled millet in a stone box. And underneath it, 900 men who haven't washed. You pass on the first attempt. Almost nobody does that. You are now a recommended man, a provincial graduate. And this title does something the last one couldn't. It makes you eligible for an actual government appointment. Landowners who ignored you last year send matchmakers to your door. But eligible isn't employed. The good posts go to men 1 level higher. Every provincial capital is full of men holding this exact rank in their 40s and 60s, still waiting. Most of them quietly settle into tutoring and land management and local influence. It's a life most people would call a success, except you've already seen how much higher this thing goes. Level 4. The Tribute Scholar. The year is 1838. You are 27 years old. Now the real gauntlet. The metropolitan examination is held only in Beijing. Only every 3 years. Only for men who already survived the provincial level. You fail it in 1835. You fail it again in 1836. Each failure costs you the journey. Weeks on the road, carrying route guides that tell you which crossings are safe and which towns will lodge a scholar without robbing him. The trip has ended careers before a single question was read. The third time, you're sealed into the Beijing compound with something like 8,000 other men. Once the gates are locked, they don't open until the session ends. Sickness or no sickness. Death or no death. Men do die in there. The bodies are passed out over the wall rather than through the gate. Opening the gate would break the seal. 9 days. 6 nights. You write by candlelight because the open side of the cell gives you nothing after dark. You eat what you carried in dried meat, pickled vegetable, hard pastries. The hall provides the cell and nothing else. The smell of this rank is tallow and old sweat and candle smoke in a space too small to stand up straight in. It will come back to you for the rest of your life, in perfectly comfortable rooms, for no reason at all. Some nights you don't sleep because the essay isn't finished, and the candle is. Men break in here. Some are found in the morning, having killed themselves with their papers half written. The ghost stories candidates tell each other in the dark aren't literary invention. They're what men actually say at 2 in the morning, listening to wind move through 8,000 identical stalls, unable to tell whether that sound down the row is another man turning a page. You pass. You are a tribute scholar, which guarantees you exactly one thing: a seat at the final examination, presided over by the emperor himself. Level 5, the presented scholar. The year is still 1838. You are still 27. The palace examination takes place inside the Forbidden City. Passing the metropolitan level already guarantees your degree. What's being decided now is only how high. Names get sorted into 3 classes. The top 3 of the first class become famous within days. You place in the 3rd class. You will be a footnote in your own cohort. Here's the scene you never tell anyone about. Outside the compound gates. The spring of 1838. The morning the metropolitan results go up. You've passed. You're pushing back out through the crowd. And the man you shared a wall with for 9 days is standing very still in front of the list. His name is Zuo Zongtang. He's 26 from Hunan. He reached the provincial rank at 20. He has been failing this one ever since. You watch him read the list, then read it again, then a third time. Then he turns and walks toward the road south, without his bedroll. It's still against the wall where he left it. You pick it up. You call after him. He doesn't turn around. He never sits another examination. He goes home. He grows tea. He studies maps and irrigation and military logistics, and everyone who knows him agrees it's a waste of a good mind. 30 years later, he is commanding imperial armies and governing the Northwest, and he outranks you. A man who failed the test you passed, who ends up above you because the empire eventually got desperate enough to stop asking. That's the thing nobody prints on the notice board. It isn't the only ladder, and you cannot tell from inside it whether you chose the right one. Someone else in your cohort places in the 3rd class that year too. 42nd, in fact. A farmer's son from Hunan named Zheng Guofan. Remember that name. It comes back. What you actually feel that day is the cold of the marble courtyard through the thin soles of your shoes, and the flat echo when a herald reads your name off stone walls. And the fact that no part of you feels the way you assumed it would. You're accepted into the Hanlin Academy as a probationer. For the first time in your adult life, you are paid. Level 6. The Compiler. The year is 1840. You are 29 years old. The work is not what you imagined. You draft imperial edicts. You compile histories the emperor will read under his own name. You tutor the sons of men more powerful than you'll ever be. You are confirmed out of probation and become a compiler. It's the first rank you've held that comes with an actual grade on the official scale. It is a very modest one. The academy smells of vermilion. The emperor writes only in red. The cinnabar ink used for his rescripts has a mineral, faintly metallic smell that gets into the paper and into the sleeves of your gown, and into rooms the emperor has never entered. Underneath it, mouse-eaten silk and the dust of documents nobody has opened since the last dynasty. You're inside the machine now, and being inside it teaches you the one thing no examination tests for. Being right is not the same as being safe. Here's the scene. The winter of 1842. You are copying out a rescript. It concerns a senior official who was ordered to destroy the opium trade at Canton, did exactly that, and then lost a war to the British that the court had assured him could not be lost. His name is Lin Zexu. He took the same degree you did in 1811. He served in this academy, in this building, at this rank, at almost exactly your age. The document you are copying strips him of office and sends him into exile at the far northwestern edge of the empire. 4,000 miles, most of it desert. You copy it in your best hand because a badly copied edict is a punishable offense. You blot it, you seal it, and you understand, holding it, that everything you have built over 27 years fits inside one sheet of paper that somebody else's brush can fill in an afternoon. Cold water, 20 turns, bow north, right. Level 7. The Magistrate. The year is 1849. You are 38 years old. You're posted out of the capital, a district magistracy in a province you've never lived in. That's deliberate. No official may serve in his home district, and officials get rotated every 3 years so that nobody builds a private power base out of local loyalty. So you arrive somewhere new with authority over people who owe you nothing, speaking with an accent that marks you as an outsider in every meeting you attend. The work is the opposite of everything you trained for. Land disputes between families who have hated each other for 2 generations. Tax collection from villages that underreport the moment they decide you won't check. And criminal cases, where you are now the man ordering the bamboo instead of the boy who feared it. The smell of this rank is your own courtroom. Rammed earth, sweat, urine, and blood on packed dirt, which doesn't wash out. It just dries darker. Every week, someone visits your residence with a gift that is technically a gift. Your salary is fixed and modest for the responsibility involved. The gap between what you're paid and what you could quietly take is exactly where careers end. You have your own warning for that. Heshen, the old emperor's favorite, who accumulated an almost unimaginable fortune and was ordered to hang himself in 1799, weeks after his protector died. And then the ground moves. 1851. A proclamation reaches your district from the south. It announces a new heavenly kingdom. It abolishes the classics you spent 30 years memorizing. And it's issued in the name of a man called Hong Xiuquan. You know the story, not the man, the story. Because it's your story with one different outcome. A village boy. The family's chosen one. Sent to the examinations again and again. He failed. After one of those failures, he collapsed and lay ill for days. And what he saw while he was ill, he later decided, was heaven telling him he was the younger brother of Jesus Christ. He failed once more. Then he stopped taking examinations. The rebellion he raises will run for 14 years and kill something on the order of 20 million people. More than any other war of the 19th century, anywhere on Earth. You stand in your courtyard reading a document that promises to burn down the entire system that made you, written by a man the system rejected. And the thought you have is not a loyal one. The thought you have is 4 times. Level 8. The Vice Minister. The year is 1859. You are 48 years old. You're recalled to the capital. Not to the academy this time. To one of the 6 ministries, as a vice minister with a second appointment in the censorate. The censораte's entire function is investigating the misconduct of officials, exactly like the one you used to be. A censor can formally accuse a sitting minister of wrongdoing. It makes you respected, and quietly feared by every colleague with something to hide. At this altitude, that's most of them. The badge on your chest has changed. You've climbed from the lower birds toward the higher ones, closer to the crane worn only by the first rank. Everyone in every room reads that square of embroidery before they read your face. The feeling of this rank is the pre-dawn audience. Standing at the palace gate at 3 a.m. in the dark with 100 other officials, breath steaming, frost and horse and lamp oil, waiting to kneel on flagstones cold enough to burn through silk, every court day, for years. And this is where you watch the system eat its own head. In 1858, the provincial examination in the capital prefecture was found to be corrupt. A candidate passed with an unusable paper, a substitution had been made, a bribe was traced. The man in charge of that examination was a grand secretary named Beijing, a Mongol bannerman, 30 years in service, known for his integrity. He sat at the very top of the civil hierarchy, 2 rungs above where you now stand. Now listen carefully, because this is the part that matters. What Beijing actually did was fail to supervise properly. Negligence. Under the law, that was not a capital offense. But he was a blunt man who had made enemies, and 2 of those enemies were close to the throne. They pushed for his death, and the emperor, who did not want to sign it, signed it in tears. In the second month of 1859, Beijing was beheaded at the Kaishiku execution ground in Beijing. 91 people were punished in total. 5 were executed. He remains the highest-ranking official in the entire history of the imperial examinations to be put to death over one. You attend because attendance is expected. And what you understand, standing there in your fine coat with your fine badge, is not that the system punishes corruption. It's that the system punishes whoever is standing in the right place when someone above you wants a name. The ladder has no landing at the top. It just gets narrower and better lit, so everyone can see you fall off it. Level 9. The Grand Secretary. The year is 1872. You are 61 years old. You are made a Grand Secretary in the winter after Zheng Guofan dies. The farmer's son from your own cohort. 42nd in the 3rd class, same as you were nothing. He went on to raise an army, save the dynasty, and die a marquis. Your badge now carries the crane. Your opinion can end another man's career the way a censor's report could once have ended yours. You advise on war, on succession, on famine relief, on laws that will govern hundreds of millions of people you will never meet. The smell of this rank is sandalwood and old incense at close range, because you are now near enough to the throne to smell the room the throne stands in, and the sound of it is your own breathing, which you can hear, because nobody else in the chamber is making any noise at all. Everything you know about this height, you learned from a man dead for 3 centuries. Zheng Zhizheng, born 1525 in a province, to nothing in particular. He took the highest degree at 23. He reached exactly where you are now. Then, further senior Grand Secretary, first among them. For 10 years, he governed an empire in the name of a boy emperor he had personally tutored. The boy was 10 when he came to the throne. Zhang rebuilt the tax system. He refilled a treasury that had been empty for a generation. By any measure available to you, he is the most successful man ever to hold your job. You have his memorials on your shelf. You've read them so often, you hear the rhythm of his sentences in your own drafts. You also know how it ends. You've known since you were 14. Your tutor told you, the way other men's fathers tell ghost stories. You take the appointment anyway. Level 10. The Posthumous Name. The year is 1885. You are 74 years old, and you are dead. There is one rank above Grand Secretary, and you cannot be present to receive it. When a senior official dies, the throne grants him a posthumous name. 2 characters, a verdict on an entire life, entered permanently into the dynastic record. The highest one available to a civil official is Wenjung, cultured and upright. In more than 2.5 centuries of this dynasty, it goes to a scarce handful of men. Zheng Guofan received it in 1872. Every other rank you earned was something you did. This one is something done to you. So look at what your whole climb was actually for. Every character memorized at 8. Every hour in a stone cell. 9 days by candlelight. The bamboo and the blood on the courtroom floor. The frozen flagstones before dawn. 60 years of it. All of it compressed into 2 characters, chosen by men in a room you are not in, about a man who cannot argue. Now here is why your tutor told you that ghost story. Zheng Zhizheng died in July 1582, at 58, having been given the highest honorary title the dynasty had ever awarded a living official. 9 days before he died, the court suspended audiences to mourn him. He was granted his posthumous name, Wenjong, cultured and loyal. The emperor he had raised from a child wept. 4 days later, the impeachment started. Within 2 years, the emperor stripped every honor, every rank. The posthumous name was revoked. The family compound in Jiangling was sealed by imperial order. By the time the gates were opened, 10 members of the household had starved to death inside. His eldest son wrote a letter in his own blood and then hanged himself. And here is the detail almost nobody mentions. They confiscated everything he owned, expecting to find the hidden fortune of a corrupt man. They found about 100,000 taels. For an official accused of looting an empire for 10 years, that is close to nothing. He wasn't hiding anything. There was nothing to hide. They starved his family in a sealed house over a crime the search itself disproved. The verdict was reversed in 1622, 40 years after his death, by an emperor who never met him. That is level 10. Not retirement. Not a memorial arch on the road into your village. A rank awarded after you are past defending it. Held on exactly the same terms as every other rank you ever earned, for as long as it stays useful to the man above you. The ladder doesn't stop at the top. It just stops being something you can climb. On the 2nd of September, 1905, the court abolishes the examinations entirely. 13 centuries of it ended in a single edict. The last man ever named top of the list took his degree the year before. He lives another 40 years as a curiosity, the last of a species. The Great Examination Compound in Beijing, those acres of stone cells where you spent 9 days and 6 nights writing by candlelight, is pulled down within a few years. The bricks are carried away for other buildings. No plaque, no ceremony. And somewhere in a province, in a house with 1 field and 4 sons, a boy is being taught to bow and recite, on the assumption that the ladder will be waiting for him. It will not be. But this morning, before anyone tells him, he is doing exactly what you did. Because it's the only part of this that never changed. Cold water into the well of the stone. The stick turned 20 times, until the room smells of burnt pine. The stick set down. The bow to the north. He'll find out. They always do. 10 ranks, 60 years. 2 characters awarded by men in a room you will not be in. The dread begins again.